Welcome back to the channel. My name's Ryan. I'm glad you guys are here. We're on part 3 of our series where we're working on our Whipple Supercharger cooling system. So if you haven't seen part 1 or 2 yet, you can check them out right here. Otherwise, today on part 3, we are going to weld up our coolant tank. We are going to take it to the powder coater and get it back, and then we're going to get it installed on the car, and we're going to wrap this project up. So stay tuned, check out this video with us. I got my helpers here with me today.
Hi.
All right, let's get started. All right, what's up guys? So I swung by the shop this evening to come over here and zip out some of these tabs to put on the corner. These are going to mount our box, our coolant tank, to the firewall. So we take a look right here. I just used our aluminum stock and cut a couple tabs. We got 2 of them. Went ahead and drilled them. So they can just, we'll weld these on the tank and they'll kind of be our mounting points, right? So we can run a bolt through there. Go ahead and mount it to the firewall, one for that side and one for that side there. Alright guys, we're over here tonight at Ben's shop and he is going to TIG weld this tank up for us. So we're excited about that and glad to get that done tonight. So hopefully we can get this tank done, maybe get it powder coated or painted, and then get it on the car. Turned out fantastic. So let's take a look at it here. So huge thanks to Ben for all his help with it. But take a look at this thing, man. It turned out great. I've went ahead and scuffed it up, getting it ready to take it to the powder coater today. But we've got the brackets welded on the back here. They turned out great. We've got the filler neck on here, and this thing turned out really good, the whole tank. Got the weld-on bungs on the side. So when you're looking at this thing, this will be the inlet. It'll come in here and then come out here and go to the pump. So looked really good. We've got the LSX logo on it that Brett cut out for us on the plasma cutter. So that just gives it a little extra touch instead of just being a plain tank. I think it turned out really good. So super pleased with it. So I'm going to try and carry it over to the powder coater today. What's up guys? Just came over here to Custom Coaters and dropped off that tank. So they said they can actually get it knocked out today, which is great. So I'm going to go ahead and get that tank knocked out. They should be able to run it with some other stuff that they're running today. So once we get that picked up, I'll show it to you guys, see how it turned out. Okay guys, so while the tank is at the powder coater tonight, I got an idea on some things we can keep doing to keep this project moving along. So let's jump in here and I'll show you what we're looking at. Okay, so the plan of attack for tonight. we can go ahead and work on this car. There's a couple things we're going to do. We're going to drain the system, go ahead and get all the coolant out of just the supercharger system. So just the heat exchanger, you know, that circuit's completely separate from the radiator and the main engine cooling. So what we can do is back here, these two fittings that hook to the heat exchanger down the motor here. So we're going to take this line off for sure. So it's got this filler neck here. This whole line comes down to the tank. So this is the tank down here. It's actually held on. One of the bolts is right there. There's another one back there. It's connected to the frame rail. So what we'll do is we'll start taking this apart. All these hoses can come off. Those fittings can come off. We'll get down under the car on this fitting, and we'll go ahead and drain the tank from here. So this is the tank. We'll go ahead and unhook this one, drain the whole system, and then this line will end up coming off. We come up here, of course, sorry, we'll be taking this one off as well. It goes down to the tank, the whole tank can come off, and then the line on this side as well, which feeds the back and comes around to this bulkhead fitting right here. So this is all going to go as well. So this bulkhead fitting is going to switch over to hose barb. So we can unhook this and get this out. The hose that goes from the other side of this around to the heat exchanger, which is right here. Yeah, you can barely see it down there. It's not really focusing on it, but it comes in down there, and that's got to come off as well. Which, now that I'm looking at it, that one will be a little more challenging because we're going to have to cut that Gates heat shrink clamp off there. So we may have to take the grill out, we'll see. But they don't all have to be done at once. We can do them one at a time. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and drain the system and then start taking this stuff off. Because really a lot of it we can go ahead and rebuild. We can go ahead and redo this line that comes out of here into that hose barb. We could go ahead and do this new line. The only line we can't, well, there's a couple. We're going to mount the tank on that flat spot on the firewall. I know, I hate to do that. We shaved all the stuff off the firewall. The master cylinders are gone and everything like that. But it is what it is. So we're going to go ahead and put the tank up there. So there will be one line coming from the back of the supercharger that will feed up to the tank. Obviously we can't do that yet until we mount the tank. And then one line coming out down to the pump, which is down here kind of behind the bumper right here. So, but a lot of it we can go ahead and do. So let's just go ahead and get started and see if we can't move this project along. They said they're going to have that tank ready tomorrow at the powder coater. So, Lord willing, we get that thing back quick and go ahead and get it on the car. Alright, so I've got the coolant drained out, everything that would drain out. I'm still sure there's still some in the system, but we got out everything we could. You see we've got a pretty good bit here, so I'm actually going to recoup this, and I'm just going to strain it and put it in these jugs because we can use this again. It's basically brand new. So anyway, just going to go ahead and save this, fill these jugs up and keep it, and then we'll use it to refill the system once we get everything put together. Alright, tank off, baby. No more tank in there. Huge open spot now. You can't see anything with this. Whatever. That's where it used to be. It is no longer there. Almost like something else could go there. I don't know, maybe air conditioning or something. Alright, it's 10 o'clock. I'm calling it for tonight. But we had a good success, I think. We got everything off with the exception of one hose, that one that's kind of behind the grill that runs over to the bulkhead in the corner. Other than that, everything's off the car. Got the tank off, got the two main lines off, 3 main lines. So pretty good success. Got the rack put back on the car, steering rack, so that's all buttoned up underneath. Drop the car back down. So now we're ready to just take that one line off, and then hopefully we get that tank back tomorrow, get it over here, drill the firewall, mount it, and then we can start working on the other lines. So making good progress. I'm excited. Can't wait to get this done. So here we are. I ended up having to pull the grill out to get this front hose off. So you can see the hose bar right there. We got that one off, and that's the one that kind of looped up and through this bulkhead right here. And we got a little change of plans. Instead of putting a bulkhead in here, I'm actually going to run a grommet and run a single hose from down here, loop it up through the fender well, and then to the back of the engine. So no connections right there. Just one fewer place for it to leak. And I have a grommet that'll work perfect, so I can run that line all the way up and around. Secondly, I have gone ahead, you can see there, I installed rivet nuts in the firewall. So the tank will screw into those. Those are M6. We've actually got these Allen head stainless screws that we're going to put in there, socket head cap. So those are M6, and they're going to hold that tank right there on the firewall. So we'll do that, and I'll show you guys a little comparison side by side of the two tanks, what we had before and what we're going to have now, so you can see the difference. But project's coming together. Just had to take a little more off the car than I was expecting, but overall should be good once we get it finished. So here is our new tank. Check it out. I am super stoked about this thing. Turned out fantastic. Got it back from the powder coater in a day, so they turned it around the next day, and it turned out super smooth. We did a satin black on it versus the old tank we had a gloss black. But what I want to show you here is not only the new tank, which is awesome looking, but show you the comparison between the two systems. So old system is out here. We had it coming out of the supercharger, looping around to a fill neck, and then coming down, and this hose actually came down to the tank, which was on the frame rail. Then this hose went out the bottom of the tank over to the pump. Then it went through the heat exchanger and then came out of the heat exchanger to this bulkhead fitting right there, and then back around and into the supercharger. Now, the only thing we're really changing is the size of the tank. So this one was about 1.3 gallons. This one's going to be about 0.3, 0.4 gallons. So less capacity in the system, which is a negative. I don't really want that. But the system's still going to have way more capacity than you would get if you got a supercharger just for your C6 Corvette, which is basically what this kit is. That doesn't have any tank on it, right? So it's just the lines and, you know, the pump and the heat exchanger. There's no tank anywhere in the system. So we've got more capacity than a factory one. Not only that, but the standard kit has 8 AN lines. We have upgraded all the lines, so we're running 12 AN lines. So you got more capacity within the lines themselves. So it shouldn't be a problem. I'm not worried about it at all. And I am super excited how this tank turned out. We've even got the little LSX logo on there that my brother cut out for us. So that thing turned out sweet. So we should have this thing on the car today. That is the plan. One of the lines is already kind of routed through. I'm actually doing away with this union, this bulkhead fitting, going through the fender well, and we're actually just going to run one line from the heat exchanger, loop it through the fender well with a rubber grommet, and then all the way to the supercharger, so that you just eliminate a leak point in the system. So I think that's going to turn out pretty good. So now it's time to get this thing installed. All right, we got the two new AN fittings installed here on the back of the supercharger. So those are the hose barb fittings, and they go to an O-ring down in the supercharger. So this is the heat exchanger. I've also got this line kind of run right here. So this is going to be our new line running up and through this bulkhead fitting. So we've just got a rubber grommet here running it through instead of using a bulkhead fitting, I should say. And it, of course, loops through the inner fender and down to the heat exchanger here. So one line running around there. So we'll get that hooked up and then work on getting the tank on. So here it is. The system is installed. Let's check this out. So you guys can see here we've got the tank mounted on the firewall now. So check that thing out. It turned out perfect. We've got all the lines run now. I have not shrunk down any of these clamps yet, so we just have all the lines run. So we can see line coming out of the back of the supercharger over the tank. We've got our overflow line. We've got the feed line here, which runs all the way down, actually you can see it right there, down to the pump, which is in the bottom corner behind the bumper. Then it runs up to the heat exchanger, and then we've put this new line on here, whoops, which runs basically out of here, loops through the fender, and then you can see that nice grommet right there coming through the fender well, one single line that runs all the way around to the back of the supercharger. So that's kind of the loop it makes. So it turned out really good. I'm really pleased with it. So now we're going to get out the heat gun, which we've got right down here. And the next step is to go ahead and heat all these gates clamps up, shrink them all down. Then we'll fill the system up with coolant and turn the pump on. So we can, our pump is set to come on at key on, so we can just cut the pump on and check the system for leaks. So hopefully we're in business after this. We'll just find out and see. Alright, so here we go. We've got our little Ryobi heat gun here, and you don't have to have this thing cranked up very much. This gun goes up to 1050. We're just going to have it up to 500, so we don't have to have it up all the way. If you've never worked with these heat shrink clamps, they work really well, and it doesn't take a lot to shrink them down. So we'll get under here, and we'll just kind of work around evenly. And you want to heat it up on all the sides that you can get to kind of get it to shrink down all the way around. You don't have to worry about overheating these things. You cannot hurt them. You want to watch out for anything that's around it, but other than that, you're not going to hurt these things. Alright, that should be it. So that's all there is to it. We're going to do that same process on the rest of the fittings. Alright, so it's that simple to get these things clamped down. So you can see them there. They are all now shrunk down. You can actually see on the end here it kind of curved over a little bit. So I have learned you don't want it to curve over too much, because when you try and remove it, it can be a little bit of a problem. There's a special tool I've got that you can just cut those things right off, which works nice. But it looks good. So we've got those two shrunk down, the two on the back of the motor, the one on the front of the heat exchanger, the one down here on the pump. So I think we're in business. So now we're going to get that coolant that we recouped when we emptied it out the other day and go ahead and fill it up. I think the other day when I drained it, I drained like 1.5 gallons out of the system, so it really had a lot of volume. So obviously this time it won't take quite that much, but still be plenty. So we'll go ahead and fill the system up, and then we can cut the pump on and check for leaks. So we've got coolant in the tank now, and we're going to give it the first fire up here, and we're just going to actually just key the pump on and see if we have any leaks, see if we see anything wrong. So alright, you want to go ahead and turn the key on, and it'll take a second, and you'll hear the so we can hear the pump pumping now. Alright, we just added some more coolant. So Dad, you want to go ahead and turn that key on again? Let's give it another go. Alright, you can see it started to. Alright, gotta add more coolant. Alright, now we're in business. We've got it flowing now. Alright, let's see. Now you can see it flowing. Good circulation. Everything's flowing. I'm sure it's still got a little bit of air left in it. Some of these lines maybe, but it should be blowing it through pretty good now. So I think we're in business. I don't see any leaks up here. Let's check the back of the engine. That's where we had trouble before. And it looks like it's bone dry back here. So we're looking good there, which is awesome. And then check this front fitting. See if I feel any issues down here. Feels dry. And then come around here and I can show you where the pump is. And let's look under here. So there is the pump. So this is the Lincoln Filter Varimax pump. We've got it mounted right here behind the bumper. Still got to put all these wires back up. Haven't done that yet. But I actually used one of the mounting points from the old tank as a hose clamp here, holding it to the car. So it worked out well. Alright, well I think we're in business now. Alright, so you guys didn't get to see it, but as soon as we shut the pump off, that tank overflowed everywhere. So we're going to hose it down and clean it up, because coolant just went all down over the header and everything. But we got the grill put back on, so final little piece, got the grill on. We're not going to put the headlight bezels on yet because I did a little touch-up paint. I'll get those on later. But supercharger system's a wrap, so we don't have any leaks. Everything looks great. So I'm super excited to get out and drive it once things dry up a little bit outside. It's still raining out there. But anyway, project went pretty smooth, man. So just let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Let me know what you think about it. You think I'm going to have trouble since we reduced the cooling size? I don't know. I think it's going to be fine, but let me know what you think. Hope you guys subscribe, follow us on all social media, and we'll catch you guys next time.